everybody. Jonathan Lewis at Fathers for Fathers, and we are here with another amazing guest and my sidekick and partner in crime. Um, he's lethal, he's dangerous, and he's wearing a pink shirt today.
Sure.
Jeff Watson is going to introduce our next guest.
Awesome. Here we have Jonathan Catherman. Welcome, Jonathan, to the Fathers for Fathers podcast. He's written an amazing book, The Manual to Manhood. And anybody should want to pick up this thing because I'm sure we're all missing something that's probably in this book. And so, first of all, just before we get started, I know we all have something that drives us, and I know Jonathan, there's a reason why you wrote this book, and we'd love for you to start off by just telling us what inspired you. Why did you write it?
Yeah, well, Jeff, Jonathan, first, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And to all the men and dads out there, it's got an opportunity and a privilege to be in this place. So don't take it lightly, which is also why I wrote Manual to Manhood. So here it is. If you're looking for it on Amazon, it looks like this, Manual to Manhood.
Perfect.
And we have a new copy that's coming out for Christmas. This is a hardcover, like wood grain, kind of cool. But wrote Manual not as a book to start with. Actually, it was a failed cloud file, if I want to really describe it like that.
Right.
In that, I was on a business trip and I was halfway across the country, and I got in a massive car accident on the freeway where every airbag deployed, glass was breaking, metal was crunching. And I had this moment where I thought, I'm going to die. And who will raise my sons? At the time, both my boys were real little, and in that flash of calamity, I didn't know what to do, and there was no calling out. There was none of that moment. My life didn't flash in front of my eyes. My son's life flashed in front of my eyes, and when the car came to rest, and I climbed out of the vehicle with nothing more than a big bruise on my hip and a total rental car. I resolved that I needed to create something for my sons in case something ever did happen to me, because I traveled every week. And so that night in my hotel room, I started this cloud file titled If Anything Ever Happens to Me. And I started writing basic instructions for life. Everything from here's how you tie a tie to here's the name of our attorney. This is a combination to the family safe. And this is my best friend's contact information. You should get to know him because he'll help raise you if anything ever happens to me.
Wow.
And I sent that file off to a mentor of mine and said, hey, if anything ever happens to me, would you please pick up with my sons as you've been mentoring me? And he's a much older, wiser man than I. And his reply after a day or two of reviewing this cloud file was, no, you got this wrong. And that's what I mean by failed cloud file. He said, this isn't a cloud file for your sons. There's a boy down the street from me that needs to read this. I've got some guys at church that need to read this. I think, Jonathan, you've got a book here, and let me introduce you to some agents and a publisher. And that was the beginning of a whole new career for me.
Wow. That's amazing, Jonathan. Thank you for sharing. It's funny. I was just saying to Jeff earlier, he didn't even know this, but my first book, Deep Water, I had the same reason for writing it. So I originally wanted to call it Breadcrumbs, but my publisher's like, nah, that doesn't really resonate. But it was for my two daughters. And for me, it wasn't a life-threatening experience, but where my dad drowned in front of me when I was just barely 15. And for me, I was going through a divorce, and my daughters were 2 and 3. And I was like, my God, like, what if something were to happen to me? How would my daughters actually really know what really mattered to their dad? Like, what if I'm not here to have that influence over them? So that's where Deep Water came from, to be honest. And interestingly enough, as I was writing it, I found myself writing it for them to know what was important to their dad. But the audience I was going after was young men, because I realized even in writing it how cathartic it was, but how damaged I was, and how it was like, wow, I've really not had a good model for fatherhood. So it's amazing that you wrote this book. Like, can you hold it up again? Because it's more than just, as we were joking earlier, red on red and black on black, right? So I was like, honestly, guys, check out Jonathan on YouTube and LinkedIn. Like, I was watching some of his videos with kids in school. So let's chat about that a little bit. Like, you're going into schools now and you're literally, working with young guys and taking them out to your Jeep, for example, and showing them like where the spare tire is. Like, so like, tell us more about this, because it's obviously evolved from just something for your daughters, right? Or your sons to something much more.
Well, the success of the book allowed us to create a foundation and
Yeah.
a whole series of books. So this is just one of 10 titles we have.
Wow.
But the
Yeah.
foundation is 1M mentoring. And we have created mentoring resources for young men and young women in the making. And those clubs meet literally globally. I'm constantly amazed. I'll find out about a club that's meeting in Australia or China or Canada, US, throughout the United States. So one of the things I do is visit schools, speak to parents, speak to educators, speak to students about life skills and character development. And every now and then we get to do something fun like that video you're referring to there was Threads and Treads. Threads that we brought in a men's style expert, and he got all the boys in shirts and ties and showed them how to tie ties. This is out of middle school in the U.S., grade 6, 7, and 8. And then we also had a local Jeep dealership brought over some Jeeps, and same place we had bought our Jeep from. And so the boys got up in the treads and learned a little bit about cars. Mainly had a great time just being in a relationship with each other and learning some cool life skills and recognizing that they didn't know how to do everything, but it was really great to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I even recall, like, even just sometimes when I'm with my son, it's like a moment frozen in time when there's a teachable moment, whether it be just anything from how to text the girl back, or like how to put on a tie. Like that's a we've mentioned that a couple times, but there's many different things, and it's like those are the key moments in life where it's like, man, I feel like I'm frozen in time watching myself impart this advice to my son. And I think you probably touched on so many of those things. And character, the formation of character also has a lot to do with it's very practical in nature. I think there's a lot of practical parts of your book, and there's also some character formation kind of moments. Could you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite chapters, some of your favorite things that you cover in the book?
Yeah. Well, every chapter has a focus of creating confident, capable, and kind young men. So that's kind of the theme of everything we do. And when I'm with a group, an audience, I often say, okay, just say stop. I'm going to flip through this and we'll figure out if this is one of the life skills that you know how to do.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm game.
Do that, yeah, because I mean, what chapter is my favorite? They're all my favorite.
You had me at like it's a game.
All right, it's kind of like a game. All right, so Jonathan,
let's do it.
go
Ready,
first.
set, go.
Tell me when to stop.
Stop. Oh.
Yeah, that's all right. We're hitting one page further. Kick a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Right now, kick a soccer ball. How hard is that? And the answer is, well, if you're a soccer player, not hard. If you lack athletic talent, then yeah, it looks foolish. So here's some literal how-to step-by-steps on how to kick a soccer ball. And this chapter is on sports. So here, how to grip a 2-seam fastball, swing a golf club, how to putt.
I could have used that when I was 15, 16.
Throw darts. This is one of my favorites right here. We're a big dart family. We like to throw darts a lot. And it's always fun to watch somebody learn how to throw darts. Because you think it's easy, but it's really not that much. Now, these don't make you a man.
No.
Learning how to do sports stuff doesn't make you a man.
But it helps with your confidence.
That's right. If you can be confident and capable, then it changes part of who you are and how you feel and see yourself, and in turn, how you feel and see other people.
All right, cool. Jeff, your turn.
Jeff, your turn.
I got to play the game too. Stop right now.
Leave a tip.
Ooh, very important.
Yeah, tipping is important.
Generosity.
It's right. And if you're in the service industry, you know how important this is. And most young men will probably have some go at some point in a place where someone's going to leave them a tip. So knowing how to calculate a tip before you're on the receiving end changes our paradigm about tip giving also. So, how do we assess quality service? What percentage do you leave? Is there a way to show appreciation in addition to just leaving some money on the table?
Wow. It's generosity, a spirit of generosity you're teaching them. Yeah. So from on that character, let's talk about character. So you write this book, you're thinking about your boys. Now, how old are your boys now?
21 and 19.
Okay. So if you were to write the book now, today, you're in that same car accident, the airbags go off, and you got these young men. What is it you want to download to them by way of character and an understanding of who their Heavenly Father is? Because that's our audience. And a lot of these guys don't have a clue who he is, or they think that they do, but it's warped by a broken understanding of their earthly father.
I think the beauty of being in right relationship with God the Father is a lot like being in a relationship like you would want to have with a father.
Yeah.
And what I love about my sons is that we have a saying in our home that there's nothing you could do to make me love you any less. Yet every day I love you a little bit more.
Mm.
And I can be in disagreement with something my son is doing, but that doesn't mean I love him any less.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the way I believe God is with us. If we're his children, let me rephrase, as we are his children, he loves us unconditionally. And if you have a child, if your viewers here, listeners that have kids, they know that they look at their kids and just go, man, how can my heart get any larger? How could this be? It's so much different than maybe I thought it was. I thought I knew what it was going to be like to be a dad until I had kids, and every day I'm surprised at what it's like to be a dad.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we're going to be surprised by God's grace and his generosity and his love and his kindness and his as God the Father. And
as they say in the South, come on,
let's preach it, right? I think that if any of your listeners are wondering what God as a father looks like, think about what your ideal relationship with a father would be, and that's what it is, minus a whole lot, because we can't even conceive of how great it's going to be.
Wow, Jonathan,
there's
meat,
so many,
man.
There's so many practical, like when you look at all those practical points, just like, kicking a soccer ball, tying a tie. It seems like I was just thinking as you were mentioning just those when we were flipping through the pages, but every single practical thing also has a character. There's a character lesson attached to it also. Like when I even think about, when you're talking about kicking a soccer ball, there's teammates involved. There's integrity. There's, trust, trying your best. Like was some of that, was that going through your mind every time you had a practical thing? Did you pair it with something that had a character formation component also?
Absolutely. It's not that I didn't create this big chart saying, okay, this how-to life skill goes with that character trait, but it's a recurring pattern you'll read throughout the book is that we talk about grit, we talk about perseverance, we talk about forgiving yourself, we talk about repeat to remember what you repeat, not giving up. It keeps coming through because practice doesn't make perfect. I'm going to say it one more time. Guys, practice does not make perfect. Practice simply makes us better. So anytime we can't figure something out, don't give up. Just keep practicing. You'll get a little bit better each time. So that's part of the character context that's peppered throughout the book, is that you are incomplete as of yet. And if we work on it.
I want to add to that because I just really was thinking when you said, don't give up, persevere, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes better. There's probably a lot of men that are tuned into us who are struggling with, have I failed as a dad? Have I missed something? Where have I gone wrong? I want to really stress what you just said to those men. Don't give up, persevere, and practice makes you better. Like, you don't have to be a perfect dad, but I'll tell you what is a good dad is one that just stays in the game and keeps showing up as best he can. And I'm talking to guys like maybe you're in prison, maybe you're divorced and you're alienated from your kids. Like, let's be real, but there's still things you can do to ski alongside your kids and let them know you're still there and you love them. So, listen to what Jonathan just said. Like, there's real power in what he said. And it doesn't change whether you're a 5-year-old trying to learn how to kick a soccer ball or you're a 40-year-old trying to figure out how to be a dad. Quitting should never be an option for us as men.
One thing I hear from fathers that are struggling often is, I don't know how to relate to my kids.
Yeah.
Wow. And we're so different generationally. I actually wrote a book about how to bridge the generation gaps.
Do you have that book there? by any chance?
It's called, I've got it right over here on the shelf, called Guiding the
Okay.
Next Great Generation is the adult version, and Becoming the Next Great Generation is the youth version.
Okay, well, we're not polished here, so if you want to run and get it and hold
Want me
it
to
up,
go get
you
it?
can.
Okay, I'll go
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
not?
yeah. Okay, but you got to hurry.
I'm hurrying. I'm hurrying.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
All right, so here we go.
Okay.
Guiding the Next Great Generation and Becoming the Next Great Generation. You put the book covers together and it bridges the gap between the generations.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this is the adult dad version. This is the one for your teen and young adulting age kids. Context though. As we are parenting, as fathers, we say, look, I don't know how to relate with my kid because of generation gap or different interests. Stop. Don't try to find something in common with your kids. Your kid is the common variable.
That's
Be
awesome.
interested in what your kid is interested in. It doesn't matter if they don't like what you're interested in. That's not the point. You don't even have to like Legos. Get on the floor and build Legos with your kid. You don't even have to like soccer, football, whatever they're into. I have one son who's extremely artistic. Theater was his thing, and another son who we wrench on cars together. I have been to countless theater productions and concerts, and I've been backstage and I've been in the front row. And whether I like the show or not, it doesn't matter. I'm a fan of that kid right there. That one's my son.
Oh, that's huge.
You know,
and it's a little different for me with daughters. I've had my fingernails painted, piggy tails in my hair.
There you go.
I grew like a serious set of dreadlocks during COVID when we were locked down in Canada, and the girls, I think they put like 52 pigtails in my hair. So yeah, but it's the same idea, right? Like just roll with it. Yeah.
Be a fan of your son or
parties. Yeah, tea parties.
The posture of giving too, like it's almost like shedding, because we all have things that we love, like, you know, whether we're, you know, for me, I love basketball, and my one son loves basketball, but my other son is into something totally different. So what you said just now really resonates with me, because it's like, you know, it's not about what I like, it's not about the activity, it's about him. It's like I'm interested in him, and the activity is secondary. And it's and it's almost like that. It's like that attitude, you know, of giving. Like I'm ready. I'm going to give you my all, no matter what. Doesn't matter if I don't like whatever, baking cookies or, you know, it's all about. And I think that was a big moment for me right now. Just hearing you say that.
So Jonathan, you've been at this for a while. You've probably seen a lot of lives impacted. What's a story from a particular, you know, experience you've had with this ministry that you just were like, wow. I
mean, I've got one on my shoulder, right over my shoulder right here. Is a young man I'm mentoring now. He's an elementary school kid. Awesome young man. Every time I spend time with him on Fridays at his school, it's a wow moment. I got a young man in Florida who is in adulting and becoming a businessman and a mentor guy. He's guiding a mentoring organization. And every time we get on the phone, I'm 5 years into mentoring with him, I'm shocked and wowed. One of my favorite stories, though, is a young man named Josh, who I was working in Trenton, New Jersey at some technical schools and helping these kids develop character around their skills that they're creating and practicing so they can go out into the workforce. And he's about to graduate, and he's getting his carpentry certificate. And he says, I'm really looking forward to graduating. I have one problem. I don't have any tools. The school has provided all my tools up to this point. And I said, okay, well, go buy some tools. He goes, I also don't have any money. Do you know, is there anything you do to help me? I said, well, let me talk to some of your instructors and see if the school has some grants or something like that. And about 3 days later, I'm in my shop organizing this rack of hammers. And I realize I've got more hammers than any one carpenter should own. And I just don't have, a dozen hammers. I have how many saws and how many, speed squares and and I started looking through my tools. And I realized I am a glutton when it comes to tools.
Wow.
And so what tools I didn't have, I contacted a couple of buddies of mine. I said, look, I'm putting together a crate and we need a full job site ready tool set for this new carpenter.
Mm.
And a really great lesson I learned when I was in my 20s, when I first showed up on my first work site, I was given a tool that was already used. And that means you're showing up on the job site with a tool that looks like you know what you're doing. This is not you out of the box.
Nice. Yeah.
So I shipped all this stuff up to New Jersey, and Josh got it, and he was able to show up on a union job site with tools that looked like he knew what he was doing, but he did know what he was doing because he had practiced for countless hours, earned his certificate, and was a very hard worker. So he quickly moved up on that team because he didn't just look the part, he could do the part. And he had also not just learned how to swing a hammer, but he was also a man of great character. So he could treat other people well on a job site. And that's life skills, that's character. Most of all, a really great relationship for years with this young man. Just seeing him start a family, start a company, it meant a lot.
Jonathan, that's an amazing story. Thank you.
It reminds me of, like, I saw this movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's called Show Me the Father. It's all about fatherhood, and they mention this term. It's called spiritual adoption, and how we've been adopted by our Heavenly Father, but we're also called to adopt others, to adopt the fatherless, adopt, just like how you're mentoring young men. You're in essence, you've adopted them. You've kind of adopted them as a brother, as an uncle, as a friend. And I think how important is it for men generally, whether you've been fatherless or you've had a father, how important is it for us to mentor a younger generation, or even mentor people that are our age? How important is mentoring?
It's critical. It's critical. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one man sharpen another.
Yeah.
And as well as those who can be good stewards with little can be trusted with much more. And to those who've been given much, much is expected. I mean, you kind of take these three little snippets of scripture and you say, look, how important is mentoring? And the answer is, it is so much more effective to mentor than it is to simply experiment your way in and through something.
Wow.
Why not show someone, see it, do it, teach it, in fact, show someone how, and then release them to do and to practice. Versus them having to experiment. This young man right here that I'm going to the zoo tomorrow with him. He's never been to the zoo before. School field trip, doesn't have a parent that can go with him. I am not his parent, I'm his mentor, but I'm going to the zoo with him, right? And I'm looking forward to his discovery, and I know he's going to ask me questions there. I don't know much about zoo animals, but what I do know, I will freely give to him. That way he doesn't have to experiment through learning whatever the questions he has tomorrow is. But we're also learning how to shake hands and tie ties and eat with manners at a table to mentor that. So if you've got young people in your life that you can mentor, or you have a colleague that you can mentor, mentoring comes from a place of generosity. And as iron sharpens iron, so does one person sharpen another. So make sure your angle's right, because if the angle's wrong, it's still loud, sparks, and makes a lot of heat and stuff. But
there's no such thing as unicorns.
Yeah, you just end up sharp and awesome for your design.
Jonathan, what is that? I'm certain that's a unicorn over there. Yeah.
Which way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, Jonathan, I want to thank you on behalf of Fathers for Fathers for parachuting in with us. 10 books, is it?
Yep.
And what was the last two there? Just hold those up again.
Okay, so
selfishly, I actually want to read the left one.
Guiding
the next generation.
Become the next great generation. I'm going to pitch. If you're going to want to read these, this is really one you want to go for. If you are if you're a father, you've got kids, raising them ready. This is an amazing book for families who have children aged 2 to 22 years old.
Nice.
So yeah, it'll help you do a readiness assessment, a launch list, and a release plan with your children.
Thank you so much. I hope all the guys out there are listening. I hope you pick up some of these books, guys. This is mentorship. Jonathan taking time to pour into you in this podcast today is him, helping you find that way, find the bridge, if you will. So Jonathan, thanks so much for joining Jeff and I. This is a blessing. I will be in Charlotte probably on a regular basis, especially this winter. So I will definitely be reaching out to you for a coffee, brother. And you can mentor me as a dad.
I feel
can be-
mentored
We'll
today.
just-
I know.
You want? Well, Jeff, you should just join. Come on.
Yeah,
gonna
Jeff.
do it.
Come
I'll
on,
join
Jeff.
you FaceTime, or maybe I'll even come
Hey,
down.
you're the one that told me they're going to be doing direct flights from Toronto to Charleston
Hey,
starting
well,
in
there
March,
you go.
and they're already flying direct to Charlotte from Toronto. So there you have it.
So we'll just, Jeff, if you can't come, then what we'll do is we'll get Jonathan here in the studio. We'll record a podcast and we'll bring you in from Canada
As our guest.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I love it.
On the Raising Them Ready podcast. We'll be good.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right, Jonathan, thanks so much, man. God bless you. And just keep doing what you're doing because we need more of it. As you know, the only way it could be better is if we had 1,000 Jonathans. So only 998 to go.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thank you to all your watchers and listeners.
Thanks, brother. God bless.
Holding me, I'm sinking, Father, this world is just too much on my